Have you ever felt like you're just stuck, facing the same frustrating problems at work, day in and day out? Well, what if I told you there's a set of really simple visual tools that can help you solve the vast majority of them? Today, let's open up this powerful problem-solving toolkit, the 7 basic tools of quality.
I know, it sounds like a wild claim, doesn't it? The idea that you could solve 95% of your quality-related issues with just 7 basic techniques. But that's exactly what we're going to dig into. And the best part? This isn't about super complex statistics. It's about making data easy to see and understand for absolutely everyone.
But before we can start solving problems, we kind of have to agree on what the goal is. So what does quality control actually mean? Because honestly, it's a phrase that gets misunderstood a lot.
So, here's the crucial point. Quality control is a proactive system. It's not about standing at the end of an assembly line and just tossing out the bad ones. No way. It's a whole approach designed to build quality into the process from the very beginning, to make sure you're getting things right the first time.
So where did this whole revolutionary idea of a simple, universal toolkit even come from? Well, to get that, we need to hop in a time machine and head back to post-World War II Japan. So, picture this. In the post-war era, Japanese industry is laser-focused on rebuilding and trying to compete on the world stage. They knew quality was everything, but they hit a huge roadblock. All these advanced statistical methods, they were just way too complicated for the average worker on the factory floor. They needed something better, something everyone could use.
And this is where Professor Kazuo Ishikawa comes in, a real pioneer in quality management. He championed a set of 7 basic, super visual tools. The big idea was to empower every single employee, from the front lines all the way to the top. And get this, he was inspired by the legend of Ben K, a warrior monk who was always ready for a fight with his 7 trusty weapons.
And that is where that incredible number comes from. Ishikawa made the bold claim that these 7 tools, when you use them right, were all you needed to solve 95% of the quality problems in any organization. A simple arsenal for a massive, massive impact.
All right, so what's actually in this famous toolkit? Well, it includes things like check sheets for gathering data easily, histograms to see how that data is spread out, and scatter diagrams to see if 2 things are related. For today, we're going to take a quick look at 3 of the most powerful weapons in this arsenal.
First up, the Pareto chart.
Okay, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by a laundry list of problems, this tool is your new best friend. It is all about focus. This chart here perfectly shows the Pareto principle. You might know it as the 80-20 rule. It shows reasons for being late. You can see right away that traffic is that giant bar, right? That's your vital few problem. By focusing your energy right there, you make the biggest impact, instead of getting bogged down by all the smaller issues. And that's exactly when you use it, to cut through all the noise, pinpoint the biggest troublemakers, and figure out exactly where you should spend your time and money to get the most bang for your buck. Let's move on to our next tool, the cause and effect diagram. So once a Pareto chart helps you figure out what the biggest problem is, this tool helps you figure out why. You might have also heard it called the Ishikawa diagram or a fishbone diagram. See how it looks like a fish skeleton? The head is the problem itself, the effect. And the bones are all the different categories of potential causes, like people, machines, or materials. It's a fantastic, structured way to brainstorm every single possible reason for an issue. This thing becomes your go-to for any deep dive analysis. When a problem's really tricky and the cause isn't obvious, the fishbone gives your team a roadmap to explore all the possibilities systematically. You can finally stop guessing and start actually solving the root cause.
Okay, our final tool for this quick tour is the control chart.
Think of this as the watchtower for your process. Now, this chart might look a little mathy, but the idea is actually really simple. That solid line in the middle, that's your average performance. Those dashed lines at the top and bottom are your control limits, and they define the zone of normal, expected ups and downs in your process. Any data point that falls outside those lines is a red flag. It tells you something unusual happened that you need to go investigate. So you use a control chart to see if your process is stable and predictable, and if it is, you can actually forecast how it'll perform in the future. But maybe the most important thing is that it stops you from overreacting to every little blip and helps you focus only on the real signals that there's a problem. Now, a real quick clarification. You might hear people talk about these 7 new management tools. It's important to know they're totally different. The basic tools we've been talking about are for solving existing problems using hard data. The new tools, they're more for things like strategic planning and organizing ideas and, language-based info. So let's be real. These tools were developed decades ago. In our world of big data, AI, and all this complex software, are they, still relevant? The answer is a huge, resounding yes.
Far from being obsolete, these 7 basic tools are actually the bedrock of today's most sophisticated quality systems. Whether you're talking about Six Sigma, lean management, or total quality management, these simple visual tools are almost always the starting point. They're the foundation everything else is built on. So, after our quick tour of the toolkit, what's the number one thing you should walk away with? It really just boils down to this. These tools prove that improving quality isn't just for a handful of statisticians and engineers. Their real strength is in their simplicity. They're visual, they're easy to understand, and they empower anyone at any level of a company to turn data into a real conversation and drive meaningful change.
They basically democratize problem solving. They put the power in everyone's hands. So the only real question left is, armed with this knowledge, what problem are you going to solve first?